Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing good and welcome to a new session. I'm happy to be here this week as well. We've got many members already. Hello, Nikhil, Kilowa, Ezeb. Hope you're doing good, guys. Fantastic. Before we start, as usual, cheers. So today we are going to go over, just like last week, if you remember, for those who have been here, for example, Kilowa, never missed a session so far. So I salute you for this. So we'll go over many markets. Hello, David. Hope you're doing good. So many markets, for example, we start with Forex because we used to do only Forex 1 week, the next week crypto, and so on. Starting from last week because you liked it, so we'll keep doing it the same thing. So we'll start with Forex, then we'll go for indices, and then we'll do crypto. So it would be a long session, so probably 1 hour and a half. So feel free to ask your questions regarding any market, but we'll start by order. So Forex, indices, and then crypto. Of course, if you would like also to go over a couple of stocks, I don't mind. So you can apply the same strategies and trading style on any instrument. So let me share my screen and get started. If you have any questions so far about trading in general, about a specific coin, instrument, symbol, whatever you want, I'm always here. So let me check it out. So I guess, okay, so I guess now you can see my screen, right? You can see the DXY and the watch list here, right? Okay, just let me know. Yes, I guess it's working properly. Okay, so before we get started, because you know that we did the draw last time, but people couldn't comment in the comment section. So please make sure that you do it correctly this time. If you click on the description of this video, all right, of this live, or for those who are watching the recording, you will see many links. Okay, so we're going to do a draw, which is, let me share. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, so fantastic. Which is this one, and you can see at the bottom of the screen that already members here get $100 discount on HTL lifetime package. But for this one, for once, of course, I'm not going to do it every week. So just for once, we're giving away one HTL package for free. So HTL, for those who have been watching my previous videos, here on TradingNut or previously anywhere, TradingView and YouTube, you know that I always have HTL on my chart, which is basically these dots, the highs and the lows, right? The main idea of HTL is to make, as you can see here, trading made simple and rule-based. Most importantly, it's rule-based because one big killer when it comes to trading is subjectivity. Because if you give traders the same chart, right, and you will see different results because every single trader see the chart differently. That's why I came up with a rule to draw trend lines, supply and resistance, do market structure analysis in an objective way, all through HTL dots, which you can see here. So I connect simply the lows of HTL dots to draw a trend line, patterns, and also I go for it to draw my support and resistance. So when I have multiple blue dots, I know that it's a strong support. So multiple blue dots here, I can draw this support zone. Multiple red dots here, I can draw this resistance. Okay, so anyway, I'm not going to waste time explaining about HTL. You can check it out, htl.com. You can check the video. So the draw is all about, okay, sorry about the light. Anyway, I'll fix it in a bit. So the draw is going to be about that you will get one HTL for free to be eligible to get into the draw. We'll do it next week. So at the start of next week's session, same day, same timing of this one, we'll do the draw. I'll do it live here. So I'll select all eligible members and we'll do the draw. The draw is about that you need first of all to follow me on Twitter. And you need to pick one, Telegram or Discord. So I subscribe for free to my one of my channels. And once you are done, once you do these two steps, so Twitter first, of course, and then you pick one of these two, or you can if you want, join both. So Telegram and Discord, you join one of these, and then simply write your name in the comment section, not in the live chat, because last time people wrote their names in the live chat, so I couldn't see it. write your name in the comment section. So after this video is posted, so just do the steps and post your name in the comment section, and like next to it you can write like Rich TL. Okay, next week I'll go to the comment section, put a list, select one winner randomly, and the winner will get Rich TL for free. Anyway, let's start with the analysis because we've got a big list today, as you can clearly see. We'll start with the Forex ones, then go for indices, and last but not least, we'll go and do some crypto. I'll check the comments real quick before I get started. So first of all, hi, hello, Kiloa, Azab, David. Okay, what makes the price move and the market? A very good question. You have like a complicated answer and a simple answer. But like the simple one is what moves the market is the liquidity and supply and demand. Okay, so Primo, so as trading bot, training right? No, it's not a trading bot. It's you trade manually. So RichTL points out the swings to connect, what I call the objective swings to connect, and you will be drawing your supply resistance, trend lines, patterns, everything that you usually do, right? But in an objective manner by following these objective swings. Okay, Jim, analyze gold. Of course, it's on my list. As you can see, it's like the third one or the fourth one. So let's do it. Let's start with Forex ones. I'll do like a couple of like pairs, and then I'll check the comments once again. So I do like, for example, the XY, USD, and USDHF, and I'll check it out. So as we mentioned last week, if you remember, we had the XY, of course, in our list because like we always start with the XY to feel the overall market. So we know that we had a weekly candle close above this resistance area. It's a massive resistance area. We can clearly see many rejections from this. If you zoom out, you can see it even better. And we are currently inside this big range. And like I compared this range to the previous ones. So we previously had this big range here, right? And then we had this big range. And we are currently trading in a similar pattern, just like these two, here and here. Right, so now we're expecting a rejection from this area. Unless we have a break above it, then we will have the break just like we had previously. A range here, price broke it upward, it became a support and traded higher. A range, price broke it upward, it became a support, and so on. So for now, we are still trading inside the range. So we're expecting a movement like this. So upward, downward, upward, downward. So now we're expecting this movement downward. Of course, we can't know till where, but like from a broad view, from a long-term like picture, we are expecting some reversal from here. It might be a long-term one, it might be a short-term one. Anyway, let's take it step by step. Unless we have a break above the entire range, then it would become a support and we can expect movement upward. The next rejection would be around this area here, around 120. Right, so this is basically it. And we mentioned that we had a weekly candle close above this area for the bulls to confirm breaking above the resistance. And like, of course, as per my trading plan, I need at least 2 bullish candles to break above it. It didn't happen, so only one candle. And as mentioned last week, the bears can still kick in. But for them to take over from a long-term perspective, we still need to see a break below this low here, which we highlighted very clearly from H4 time frame, as we clearly see. So we are still bullish, right? We are seeing some rejection from weekly time frame. We saw that we have this engulfing candle, and anyway, this week like hasn't ended yet. So we might still see a rejection like this and a wick like rejecting it upward, because we know that the XY has been very strong lately, and it has been very strong in a way that the bulls are not letting the bears even make a correction. So impulse movement, as you can see, a flat correction or even a rising correction. Impulse movement, a flat correction. Impulse movement, a flat one. Impulse, flat. And we are currently in this impulse, and we are currently getting into this correction. So until we see an aggressive movement downward, we can't really call it a trend reversal, a shift in momentum. We are still very bullish, and this is just a flat correction. Why the bulls are very strong? Because usually in a bullish trend, we will see an impulse, a correction, right? Pushing in the opposite direction of the trend, then an impulse pushing in the direction of the trend, right? However, we can see here that we have an impulse and then price is going flat, right? Which means that the bulls are very, very strong, not even letting the bears trade any lower, not even make a correction, okay? So that's basically it. But we see some rejection here. So if you zoom into daily time frame, as mentioned previously, we will need to see this break below it. Meanwhile, we can still get this range just like here before breaking it upward and trade higher. So let's see how it goes. It's really, really interesting now, but don't call it a bearish trend just yet. From lower time frames, of course, we have break below the previous lows. So for example, on M30, we've got a break below this channel, below this low here, right? So this is it. Price traded higher, made a low here, broke it downward. Now we are bearish. Then correction, a low here, and broke it downward. So we are technically now in a bearish trend from lower time frames. So impulse, a correction, and we are currently in this impulse movement upward. If this impulse movements play out well, trade lower like this, right? We need to see this break. So we might see an impulse, a correction before the next impulse movement start. In this case, if this happens, then we will see like the short-term bearish trend will be extended to be a long-term bearish trend. Because for now, the boost can still kick in before we see a break below this zone here. The boost can still kick in. How? We can simply draw a channel now to engulf the overall bearish trend, just like we did previously in the bullish trend. So next, if we see this impulse, as mentioned, correction, impulse, but failing to break the zone, then we might see this, and we might see a trend following buy setup, so a trade higher. Okay, so it's like don't get too excited that we are finally bearish. Okay, we are not bearish yet. We are bearish from a short-term perspective. This is a very, very important zone to see if the bulls will take over again or the bears will finally take over. And this is from a long-term perspective. So that's basically it. Let me check the comments real quick. Can you do AUD/USD? Of course. I don't know if it's on my list. Let me check. If it's not, I'll add it real quick. So AUD/USD. Okay, I don't have it. Let's add it. Okay, fantastic. Let me make it just around the USD pairs. So here we go. So next we have EUR/USD, and you can clearly see that it's exactly the opposite of the XY. So like starting from now, I'll do it quickly because I took my time on the XY because it will give you an overall bias of the overall Forex market. So you can see this a high here, which is what? The exact opposite this low here, right? So the exact opposite analysis. If you go to weekly, as we saw last week, we know that, give me a moment to check. Okay, everything's working properly. So as we mentioned last week, we are still like around the support. So like for those who were saying that we are bearish and EUR/USD will go to 1, we are still around support until we break below this support here, right? From daily and weekly time frame, the bulls can still kick in, and indeed the bulls kicked in this week, and we can clearly see that we are seeing a kind of reversal. If we check the weekly time frame, if this candle closes like this as an engulfing candle, it would be great. If on daily time frame we break above this high, which is our last major high, as mentioned, it would be very, very good. If you zoom into H4 time frame, we can see it even better. So this is it. This is our last high. Let me highlight it to appear on daily. Here we go. Right, so this is the view from daily. We are still bearish, making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. This is our last major high for now. If broken upward, then we might experience or see a shift in momentum from a medium-term perspective. Of course, from a long-term one, we still need to see a break above this entire rising, falling wedge. So that's basically it on EUR/USD. We can clearly see it, especially from weekly time frame. It's just like we saw the XY stock inside a range. Exact same thing on USD. However, in this case, it's a falling range. So bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, and we're expecting now a bullish movement. Of course, we can't really expect a bullish movement till here right? At least for now. We're expecting a bullish movement from here to here because that's our next resistance. And for USD to trade higher, we need to break above this resistance to become support, and then this would be our next resistance. We need to break above it to become support, and so on. Okay, so we always take it step by step because like we don't really care about what might happen next year, right? So because like it would take like a year to reach this far. What we can care about is what's happening currently, because we want to base our trades this week or next week, like to want to know where we are in the market, and we're clearly around the support area, right? So that's it around the lower bound of this orange trend line, which we also had from last week. Looking for buy setups when we could have entered a buy after a break above this high here. Right, you could enter a buy, just stop loss below this low or below this low. It depends on your trading style and so on. And you could have entered a buy and so on. So for now, we are approaching this upper area. So we might see a slight rejection from here to form a new swing high, and then we might finally see a break above this high for a potential reversal from a medium-term perspective. Then we can expect this movement. For now, we can still reject this area, which is basically the exact same thing we saw on the XY. We can still reject this area and trade higher. Okay, the exact same thing. We can still reject this area and trade even lower before we trade higher again. So that's it. Let's move forward. If we check, okay, let me delete this one. Okay, if we check USD CHF, and as mentioned last week, we were looking for sell setups here. If you remember, for those who watched like the previous stream. The reason why is because we have a very strong resistance zone. Of course, unless broken upward, then this would be our next resistance zone. We can see it better if you want from monthly, but I rarely zoom into monthly time frame. So that's it from weekly. Look at how strong this resistance is. They are looking for sell, and it's also, as mentioned last week, the round number 1, right? So this is from weekly time frame. If you zoom into daily, we were looking for sell here unless we have a break like this. Okay, so the same analysis. Go to H4, we can't really add much. Then, but like price traded higher from this low here, which we can see very clearly from lower time frame, from H1 or from M30, which I usually base my entry on. So on M30 time frame, we have this low here. Price broke it downward and broke below this trend line. So the exact same thing, or the opposite thing of Euro USD, right? So here we have this higher high, while on Euro USD we had this lower low, right? So here we go. You could have entered a sell here after a break below it. Stop loss depends on your risk appetite, above this high or above this high, and you need to target at least a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio to have an edge over the market from a risk management perspective. Okay, so that's it. Let me check. Okay, Azab, could you explain your way to structure when you do top-down analysis? Okay, I couldn't really understand your question. If you can like ask it in different words, I would appreciate it. Okay, Roj or Rog, happy I shorted this USCHF. Fantastic. Okay, Zab, I'll continue now and do AUDUSD as per to request, but feel free to explain your question more. Okay, because I guess you can get a pretty good idea about my trading style from the streams. So next, let's go for AUDUSD, right? So on AUDUSD, we can clearly see like most probably the opposite of the XY, right? Because like it makes sense, because USD or the XY, which is the USD index, we have the USD here on the quote, not on the base, right? Which is on the right, AUDUSD. So on AUDUSD, as mentioned last week, we had this falling channel and prices approaching the lower bound of the channel. So we are looking for buy setups, but I wanted the bulls to prove to me that are strong enough to break above this zone again, because it's clearly a very strong resistance, turn support, again and again, and price like tried to break below it. Especially if we check the daily time frame, we can see that it was a massive break below this area. So I was looking for buy stops here, but I don't want to buy here just yet, because like this is a tricky zone now. As you clearly see, it's acting as support. Price broke it downwards, so I want the buyers to reclaim the support by breaking back above it. In this case, on the retest of it, when we have this break on this of it, we'll be looking for trend following buy setups, right? So let me remove these ones for now. If you zoom into H4, we've got this trend line, which is what the exact same trend line we saw on Euro USD H4. You know what? Let me show you. Here we go. Exact same trend line on the XY. Here we go. Right. So like it all depends on the XY. That's why it's very important to keep an eye on it. So for now, and a break above this area, it would mean also what? A break above this trend line. So it would invalidate this like falling channel, or invalidate this non-horizontal resistance, because for now we can still reject it downward and trade lower. Okay, so like for now, technically I'm looking for sell setups on AUDUSD. I was looking for buy stops here around the lower support, because like we have room from this support to this resistance. But now I'm not looking for buy setups. Like no matter if price is breaking above this high and so on, I still need to see extra confirmation by a break above this entire area. Okay, so that's it. If you go lower and lower, we can see things better. For now, this is like my last objective low. So for the bears to take over, we need to see a break below it, and like we have like a double top pattern forming. So the neckline would be here, and of course it's just an idea, right? So black price can still trade higher, invalidate this double top. Okay, in this case, if we trade it higher, right, then maybe you will form a new swing high, swing low like this. Then I will adjust my swing, and it would be here. Okay, because technically now I'm still looking for sell setups. This is still a resistance, right? Unless price cap keeps on trading higher and higher, break it from daily and weekly, then on the retest of it, I'll be looking for a trend following buy setup. Okay. So this is basically it on like AUDUSD. I can't really add much, like no matter if I zoom in lower. We might be able to draw a trend line, but like I will not draw it now because it's still too early, because we don't have a higher high just yet. So once we have this higher high like this, then I'll be able to draw this trend line. Here we go. Then I'll be waiting for what? Maybe for this to happen. And then here we go, which is the same one I showed you from H1. If price rates higher, I'll be waiting for a new swing low to form, and then we can sell on speak out downward. It would be a trend following sell setup, because we are bearish from a long-term perspective. We are still bearish, right? Just like we are bullish, still bullish from a long-term perspective on the X. Why? Unless we finally have this break and the XY breaks below the support. Okay, let me check ZAP. How do you analyze the structure on higher time frames compared to the lower time frames? Inception. I don't know how to explain more clearly. Okay, great. Yeah. I got what you mean. So on higher time frames, daily and weekly. Okay, so let me take this example, because like we are now on AUDUSD, right? So let me delete this one. Anyway, let's delete it. Okay, so on higher time frames, daily and weekly, I usually like know where I am in the market. So I zoom out to the max first. Okay, so like we got two steps: a zoomed out picture and then a zoomed in picture. Okay, so from weekly time frame, I start with a zoom out, but like of course, like I don't really care about what happened here. Okay, I care about what's happening now. Okay, like even though it's from a zoomed out picture, but it will help me identify key rejection zones that the price might reject. So like even if I'm like in a zoomed in picture like this, okay, I can't really see like on the left what really happened. So I couldn't really see the swing, right? And previously I couldn't see the swing, which is a strong supply zone. So which might act as a potential rejection area where I'll be looking for sell setups, right? So I saw with a zoomed out picture, this is the first step to know where I am. I draw my level, support and resistance, just like here, as you can see, a support here, a resistance here, and so on. And then I zoom into lower time frames to see if I can see anything better. So from weekly time frame, like let's say I'm let's say I'm here, right? So for weekly time frame, I know that I'm bearish starting from here because price broke below a major low. So I'm bearish, but we've got many support and resistance like ahead. So I'll be looking for sell stops around the resistance, buy stops around the support unless it's broken downward. Then I'll be looking for sell here, buy here, unless it's broken downward, sell here, buy here. Of course, we are bearish now, so until eventually the bulls take over. So for weekly, it's very important to know where you currently are. For example, we were bullish previously here, right? And then starting from here, we are now bearish. Starting from here, we had like an aggressive movement upward, downward, and upward. So now we are bullish, right? And starting from here, we are bearish. So for weekly, we know the big picture, like either from like support and resistance and overall view, or also from a market structure. So I'll do the exact same thing on daily time frame. So this is basically it. We take it higher. We could look for buy stops here, sell stops here, buy stops here, sell stops here, price broken downward. Now we're here looking for buy stops, looking for sell stops, and so on until eventually broken upward. Buy stops here, sell stops here, buy stops here, sell stops here, maybe. Okay, so this is it. It's very important to know where you currently are. Next, I do the exact same thing on daily time frame. So I zoom in and like from a broader view now, I know where I'm currently at, and I can also like refine the market structure and so on. So like which I explained here that now I'm bearish until we see a break above this high. Okay, so this is basically it. Now, when I see a break above this high, then it will help me understand better that yes, now on the retest of this, we can expect a movement upward because we don't only have a support, but we also have like a shift in momentum from here. So on the retest of this area, I'll be looking for buy setups because now I have many reasons to look for buy setups, right? And of course, like vice versa, right? So, and like for example, here we broke below this support, traded higher, rejected this resistance again, then we broke below it again. So now we are of course very bearish. So on the retest of this resistance and the previous low, which is broken downward, then I can look for sell setups here. Okay, so I personally combine like supply and resistance, overall view with market structure from weekly and daily. Then after doing all of this, I can base my entries and like trades on lower time frames. Okay, which you clearly see from many examples. Okay, so that's basically it. Let's go for gold. I still got many examples, but like I'll try my best to give only 10 minutes more to Forex before we go to indices and before we end it with crypto. Let me check the comments one more time. Okay, analyze. Okay, Henry, USD card. Okay, we'll add it. Okay, Ismail, what was it that you said about the XY that implies market bias? Yes. Okay, so we always start with the DXY, okay, because it will help us feel the overall market. Because the XY is the USD index, and like most importantly, like it doesn't only move the USD pairs. So like if the DXY goes upward, okay, Euro USD, the XY goes down, for example, which is happening now. Okay, Euro USD will go up because not only let me explain with a chart because like it's better for me. So here we go. So now like we know that it's euro / USD, right? So USD is here, is the code, the euro is the base. So if the DXY, right, which is the USD, this is a D, not a P, so the XY goes lower, right? Not only euro USD is going higher because this is going lower, but because also the euro will gain strength. Okay, so like you can see euro JPY going higher, euro GBP going higher. So the euro is so like the XY not only affects USD pairs, it affects most probably all the entire market. Okay, that's why I always start with the XY to feel where I'm currently at. Approaching at support, the bears took over, short term, long term, where I'm currently in the market. Okay, so hope it's clear. Zap, thanks, fantastic. USD CAD, let's add it to our list. You know what? Let's do it now. Okay, on USD CAD, here we go. So on USD CAD, we are now overall bullish, trading inside this channel. If we zoom a little bit out, we can see that this is a very strong support and resistance. Look at how many rejections we had from it. Support previously broken down, resistance, broken upward support multiple times, then broken down with resistance again and again and again. So for now, we are still, the zone is still acting as a resistance area. So we are looking for sell setups and sell setups only, okay? So like this is how you know where you currently are, so you know what to look for. So half of the work is done from higher time frames, because like once I know what I look for, like I zoom into lower time frames, and like things become easier. So now I know that I'm around the resistance. Not only that, if we connect simply the last lows and highs, right, we can know that we are currently bullish, okay, and making like slightly higher high and higher lows. So that's like it's a flat bullish channel. So like if you check it out, it's more probably like a range, but like inside this range, like the bulls are trying to push, okay. So anyway, it's the intersection of the upper bound, because usually the price is trading like this, upward, downward, upward. So now I'm expecting this downward movement. Okay, that's why I'm looking for sell setups here. Of course, if price approaches the lower bound, which is here, I'll be looking forward for trend following bar setups, which is also a support area. Okay, so that's it from higher time frames. We can see things better from daily, but like I could see it cleaner from weekly time frame. So around here, I was looking. I was looking for sell setups. We know that we are waiting for the bears to take over by breaking below the previous low. So price kept on making higher lows and higher highs. We are still bullish. Oh, sorry. Let me zoom in again. Here we go. So on M30 you can see it here, and on M30 we can see it here. Okay, so we previously had this rejection from this resistance, traded lower. Then we had, here we go. Then we had this blow broken downward, and like definitely this one was a fake out, right? And if you remember, like this one, the CPI news. So we had a bearish movement on the XY, then we had a bullish movement on the XY, which is you can clearly see here. Like sorry, the opposite, a bullish movement the XY, then a bearish movement. Okay, so like this was a fake out, and we traded higher again. Then later on, price formed this low here and broke it downward. So like now we are technically bearish after breaking below this low, which we can see better from H1. Okay. So now I'm expecting this movement to the lower support area, and around here I'll be looking for buy setups, because this is our support. So that's the view from daily and weekly. Weekly we saw it even better. So I'm looking for this, and then I'll be looking for buy here also. Okay. Okay, what happened in gold analysis? Yes, we'll do it. But since like someone asked about USD, this is why like I did it now. Hello, hope you're doing good. Let's go for gold. Let's follow our list, which is here we go. Right, so like I'm not sure if I'm going to do all of these, because like I don't want because I want to go over the indices and then the crypto markets. So on gold, here we go. So on daily time frame, if you remember last week, we had a trend line here, right? And we were looking for buy stops as price was approaching this support area. It was the intersection of a horizontal support, as you can see here, and a non-horizontal support, which is in red. Okay, so as you clearly see, price broke it downward. And if you remember also, if you zoom in lower and lower, like we were waiting for the bears to take, sorry, for the bulls to take over by breaking above the high here, which you can see better, I guess, from M30 time frame. Here we go. Yes, so we're waiting for the bulls to take over by breaking above this high, okay, which didn't happen. Price kept moving lower and lower. So now the zone is technically broken downward. We can see it very clearly from daily time frame. If you go to daily, this is it. So like, that's why I deleted this line. because now it's now no longer acting as on a horizontal support. It's broken downwards. So now this bearish movement is overextended, right? Because like as mentioned last week, if we have this movement, then the bearish trend would be confirmed. It would be this impulse correction and this impulse movement downwards. So now every bullish movement is simply what? Is simply a correction movement, and then we expect another impulse movement lower, unless we see an aggressive movement upward as a shift in momentum. Then we can say that yes, now the buyers took out the last major high, then like this one was a fake out, and then now the bulls are taking over again. In this case, we'll be looking for buy on the retest of the support. But for now, let's take it step by step. Broke below this previous low, traded lower, made this big impulse movement. Now we can draw what? A channel. Exactly. So this is it. Okay, that's our previous low from daily. This is the channel. So now, as long as we don't take out this last major high, which we saw from daily, right, which is, let me see, here we go, right? As long as we don't take out this high here from daily, then we would be overall bearish, and we are looking for sell setups. Okay, we're looking for sell setups, and now we might have a correction movement like this, right? And we might even like trade a little bit higher before we trade lower again, or we might have a small correction just like this, like reject the supply before we trade lower from here. So I'm technically now looking for sell setups. If we zoom into lower time frames, here we go. We can draw a trend line now here, and for example, but I wanted to go higher to approach this resistance more, because like to me this is not like an enough correction. It's just like a high and a low. So I would like to see this, and then I'll be looking for sell setups. Okay, so like when I want to enter a reversal, I want like an aggressive movement before it. So if I'm looking for a buy setup, I don't like just buy because I have this small swing. Okay, I want a whole trend, and then I enter on the reversal of the trend. So for now, even though we are bearish and I'm looking for a correction, I'm looking for an overextended correction. I want it to be over, like both approach this resistance as much as possible. In this case, I'll be selling on straight downward. So like what I'm waiting for on gold is a bullish movement, for example, like this, and then I'll be selling on straight downwards. Okay, and like anyway, if you want, long story short, we are bearish on the correction phase, waiting for the bears to take over again before we sell. Most preferably, as mentioned, if we trade higher before we trade lower. In this case, this would be great. I'll be entering a sell on the last swing low, break downward, or it depends on your trading style. For example, we have a channel here forming. It's still an idea, but you've got the idea, right? And for now, we've got like a big one here from H1. Make an offset for it. Here we go. So like this is now defining the overall bearish movement. So we can still reject it from here, but I would like to see one more swing low to form here before I sell. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to approach this resistance first. Okay, fantastic. Okay. Kilua, does technical analysis work even when we have negative global news? Yes, like no matter what news you have, positive or negative, we are price action traders. It depends on you, right? If you want to integrate the economic factors in your trading plan, and it's up to you. But like if you are a pure price action trader, you don't really care about what's happening. Okay, you don't really care about what you hear. Okay, you care about what you see. And like believe it or not, like whatever like happens like will be translated in the price. Okay, so like whatever happens, like if we have, for example, a good news, we'll see a big bullish movement, right? I don't really care why we have this big bullish movement. We have this big bullish movement. Now what? Okay, so like we follow the price itself, and yeah, no matter if it's good or bad, we just follow the price. And like of course, like we want our rules to be met as per trading plan. You wait for the rules, you enter it, and no matter what, like the worst case scenario, what would happen, right? It will hit your stop loss, and like as long as you have a positive risk to reward ratio and a good win rate. So for example, like if you risk like 1% and you always target 2%, right? So like even with a 50% win rate, you are doing great. Because if you enter 10 trades, okay, so like you've got 5 losses and 5 wins, right? So the 5 losses will make you lose 5%, 5 wins will make you win 10%. So you are overall doing great, even with a 50% 50% win rate. So 5-5. No matter if you have a news like from these 2 trades that hit stop loss, or you have a news that made like two of these trades hit your take profit fast. Okay, so this is basically it. Let me take a sip, take a little break, and we'll move forward. You're more than welcome, Jim. Let's continue. You know what? I'll do like one more Forex pair because like it has been 40 minutes, and like I don't want the session to be very long. I don't mind if it's long, but not like 2 hours or 3 hours. So like 1 hour 30 minutes, 2 hours max is great. So let's go for CHF-JPY. Okay, great. CHF-JPY, we also had this one last week, okay, if you remember, and we were looking for sell setups here because we had what? We had a supply zone, right? Price rejected it downward. We can see it better from zoomed out picture, and that we can see that it's currently the all-time high, which anyway is a supply zone, as we had an aggressive movement down from it. We also had a gap here, right? And we had this supply. So the price filled these 2 zones and traded lower. Now we might still test it one more time. And now since we had an aggressive movement down from here, we also have what? A supply zone here and a supply zone here. Okay, so now we're looking for sell setups. If we trade higher, we'll be looking for sell setups here. Okay, and since we are bullish, like previously, because we had this bullish trend, okay, we identified this trend line as these 2 trend lines actually. Okay, this one is flat and this one is steep. So like this is for overall direction. If this one is broken, then a movement to the lower area would be expected, and then we'll be looking for buy here. If it's broken, we'll be looking for buy here. Okay. We'll be looking. We don't buy blindly, no matter how strong a support is, no matter how strong a trend line is. Okay, we look for sell setups. Okay, so like here we looked for sell setups. Here we looked. Maybe it was a fake out, broken upward. Now this resistance became support, support again, traded higher. Now we are bullish. Broke above this high, we are bullish. Price starts to make higher highs and higher lows, right? We previously were inside this range. Resistance, looked for sell. Support, looked for buys multiple times, then looked for sells multiple times, looked for buy, then looked for sell. Maybe it was a fake out, broke above this resistance. Now it's broken, right? We had an aggressive movement upward. Now we have support, looking for buy. Okay, so yeah, that's it. On daily time frame, as price approaches the lower area here, which is the trend line, we'll be looking for buy setups, and keep in mind that now we are bearish. Okay, from a short, I don't want to say short term, from medium term perspective, from daily, we are bearish. We broke below this low here, which is this low and this low. But from a long term perspective, of course, if you zoom out, we are bullish. Okay. So, however, like we'll follow the daily time frame. Since we are bearish now, we're expecting impulse correction. We're expecting this impulse. So we're looking for trend following sell setups from daily. Then here we'll be looking for trend following buy setups from weekly. Okay, and of course, unless this is broken upward, then it's no longer valid, no longer acting as a supply. It would be filled. Then the next one would be here, where we'll be looking for sell setups. Or if we trade lower now and we look for sell setups here, then this would be our next rejection. Support area, non-horizontal support, we'll be looking for buy. Unless broken downward, then this would be the next one. Okay, so we take it step by step. We can't really know what might happen like a couple of weeks from now, but we now where we are, this is what we care about. So if we go lower and lower on H1, this is it. We have a trend line forming. right? We were bearish previously, broke below this low. Now we had this big impulse, a correction. This big impulse resulted in a supply zone here, aggressive movement downwards. So this is it. So it's not only the previous high, it's also a supply zone now, right? So we have this previous high, which we saw from daily. Of course, we can make it a little bit higher like this, okay? But you've got the idea. Because I made it lower because I want like, because like I want to cover these wicks here. Anyway, we can even make it higher like this to cover like the close of it. That doesn't really matter, because like we look for sell around it, we don't sell blindly. So yeah, if you zoom in like to H1 time frame, we see that now we're approaching it, and as per my trading plan, I'll be waiting, for example, for this, and then we sell on spec downwards. Okay, but I'm waiting for this first. This is it. This would be a trend following sell setup. We are currently bullish, but it's just a correction after this big impulse movement downward. So now I'm expecting what? I'm expecting another big bearish impulse movement downward, like this. Okay, or like, of course, it might be it might be a short-term one, not making a low, instead make a higher low. So it would be a trend following buy. Here we go. Okay, anyway, let's take it step by step. This is what I'm looking for on CHF JPY. Unless we break above it, in this case, this would no longer be acting as a rejection. In this case, a movement till he would be expected, where I'd be looking for new sell setups. Okay, because it would be daily supply and so on. Okay. When you say you look, for setups, how do you enter your trades? Do you wait for a breakout, then enter on retest? It depends on you, but like what I usually do is, let me give you an example. So for example, since we are here now, so what I'll do is I'll be waiting for this first. So I don't want to sell. We are in a bullish market from H1. Of course, it's bearish from H4 and daily. But from now, because like my entry, like for example, now on H1, I want to enter. I usually enter on H1 or on M30. If I find a setup on H1, I don't zoom in. Okay. If I don't find anything clear from H1, then I zoom in. But like for now, since this one is clear here, I don't need to zoom into M30, right? And anyway, you can see the exact same like shape. Okay. So for now, this is my entry time frame. And like I want my entry time frame to shift from bullish to bearish. I'm bearish. I'm looking for sell around this supply, blah blah blah. But I don't want to sell until I'm bearish also from the short term perspective. So long term bearish, right? Correction. So now I'm bearish long term, but bullish short term. So I want to enter when I am bearish in both sides. Okay, you got the idea. So this is it. I'm waiting for this to happen. When this happens, it depends on the case. If this candle closed below it, like it's very close to the swing, okay, then I will enter immediately. If it's big like this, so I don't want to enter here, then I'll be waiting for a retest, and then I will enter here. Okay, so it depends on the case. It depends on your risk management, risk appetite. So this is basically it, because for example, I want if the candle closing below it is here, it's fine. But if it's here, like I don't usually like to enter it. Okay, because like when my stop loss gets bigger, the risk reward gets bad, and so on. Okay, so this is it. Next, let's do some indices, right? Okay, one more question. If I understand correctly, the way you are trading, you have high time frame support resistance and lower time frame pattern. Yes. Okay, so look, it's yes and no, right? So first of all, yes, on higher time frames, what I call a rejection time frame. So starting from daily and weekly, I start to look on where I am in the market. I can draw trend lines, okay? I can draw patterns, but it would be just for overall direction. Let me give you an example. So, oops, I clicked I clicked something by mistake. Give me a moment. Okay. Okay, so this is it. So like, let's say I'm now from daily time frame, and I have this channel, which we saw on many cases now. For example, on USD CAD, right? If you remember, price is trading like this. I can draw this. We have a higher high, higher low. I could draw this channel. It's just for over direction for me to feel where I'm currently at, right? So it's like, of course, price can break it downward, can break it upward. Okay, it's just for over direction. Or like currently, how is the flow of the price? How like who is currently in control? How much are they in control? I can just feel that from daily and weekly. I draw patterns. Like if I have a lower high and a higher low, so I can draw like a symmetric triangle. So I know that like neither the bulls nor the bears are in control, and I expect that we might. I'm looking for a sell here, but I know that like we might not drop as low as before because like the price range is getting narrower and narrower. Okay, or if you are in a channel, so this is where you feel of like where you currently are. So now, so like for example, now when this happens, I'm expecting an explosive movement soon. So like starting from here, I don't want to look for setups inside it, because if I look for buy here, chances are the price would reject it and trade lower. So starting from here, I no longer look for setups. Instead, what I do is, in this case, I wait. This is all from daily time frame. I wait for a break above or below. Okay, for the bears or the bulls to take over. Then on the retest of it, I zoom into lower time frames and look for setups. Okay, so this is basically it. And I'd like to explain it even more. Let's say we have a channel here, right? We have a channel from daily, and here we go. Oops, like my drawings are sometimes bad. So here we go, and now we have a channel from H1, right? So we have a pattern from daily, over direction, looking for buy stops, trend following buy setups, but bearish now, drew this channel from H1, and I entered a buy on break upward. So we have two channels, one lower, one higher, but the lower one was trigger one, the higher one was simply a rejection one. Okay. Okay, so let's go for indices, and okay, you are more than welcome. Cheers, man. Okay, let's go for, let's start with US 500, of course. On US 500, here we go. So we also did this one last week, if you remember. So we were around this 4K, and like the good thing is that we saw last week is that we had this like big wick, right, rejecting the 4K upward, because as mentioned last week, for the bears to take over, we need a candle close below the 4K. In this case, a movement till the next rejection, which would be here around 3.7K would be expected. Of course, last but not least, we've got this zone here, which is a resistance turn support, and there's also a demand zone. But let's take it step by step. For now, since we have this wick, we have two possible scenarios, and you will see this possible scenario all over the place, on Bitcoin, on Total, on online, like whatever market you are trading, on US 100, right? So you will see it all over the place. So the two possible scenarios are, chances are that now the bulls are filling the wick. Okay, so sorry, the bears are filling the wick before we trade higher. And like one example about this is when we have had this wick previously, right? Price tended to went lower, filled it almost entirely before we trade higher again. So this is a possible scenario, but we can't really know until it happens. So we zoom into lower time frames in a bit. But for now, like this weekly candle is very important. If we trade higher and reject the 4K one more time, chances are that we might, just like here, like two rejections, trade it higher, right? So we might then it might be a fake out just to grab more liquidity before trading higher. Especially that if you draw a bearish channel here, we can see that we are currently around the lower bounds, right? We can see it, I guess, better from daily time frame. This is it. Right, we are currently here. We are currently oversold. Okay, we usually after this big bearish trend, we usually tend to see a correction, right? So it might not be that deep. It might be like just a small correction, but we didn't see a correction yet. Okay, so it might be just like to fill the wick, to reject it one more time before trading higher again. Okay. So this is still a possible scenario. I'm hoping like this would be the scenario. Okay, so if not, and if we have this like candle closing like full, okay, then it wouldn't be good at all. In this case, we would have like this in this entire structure. Of course, from a long-term perspective, from a short-term perspective, already we had this break previously. So we got this low, traded lower, classic rejection from it, traded high and lower. So like starting from here, we had a signal that the bears are taking over. And if you remember last week, we had a channel here. Here we go, right? We had a channel, it's broken downward and so on. But like for now, let's take it like from here. Okay. So sorry about that. Okay, again, let me fix it. Okay. Where we were. Okay, this is it. So like, I'm hoping that the bulls will take over. How do we know that the bulls are taking over? Of course, like we can't really know from here unless you zoom into M5, which I don't really like. How do we know? Is if you remember, also last week we were here, I guess, or here, right? I mentioned that I'm waiting for the bulls to form a new swing high around this trend line here, right? I don't know if you remember, we had it like this. I'm waiting for this to happen and then buy on spec upward, or for the bulls to prove to us that they are taking over. So like this happened, right? But like I didn't expect like a deep movement like this. So like I expected, for example, this and a higher low and then a break up over it. Okay, so now the price is filling the wick from daily and weekly, which we saw. So if we trade higher from here and break up of this one, then this would be amazing. This would signal a deep correction till around this area. Okay, like this week is very important because like it will decide if now if this week closed like this, it would result with a big wick right from weekly, and it would be also good. Then if we close like this from weekly, then we just need to see this one more break before the bulls take over. Okay, for now we might still it all depends on like this week. If we close like this, it wouldn't be good at all. Okay, that's basically it for US 500, and we can see the same analysis. Let me check the comments real quick. Khaled, hope you're doing good. Fantastic, man. I'm happy to see you here today. Thanks. I'm trading SMC. Okay, nice. I find improve using pattern and support. I was doing what you explained with multiple patterns. That's helped me a lot. Thanks for answering me. You're more than welcome, Azeb. Best of luck, man. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so the same analysis we saw on US 500. We are currently rejecting this area, and like I had these drawings from last week. I don't know why. Let me see if on lower time frames. Yeah, this is it on lower time frames. So okay. Anyway, the idea behind it is simply that. Here we go. So we had this wick, right? So if the bears manage to close below it, then we will expect a movement till this lower bound. Okay, but if we reject it, then this is still a resistance zone that we need the buyers to break above to confirm like taking over again. By breaking above it, it would mean breaking above this channel also. Let me delete these ones to make the chart clean and check it out from daily time frame. This is the view from daily. We were bullish previously, now we are bearish after breaking below this trend line and this low. Traded lower, impulse, classic retest, and we are currently in this impulse movement lower. So we're expecting what? A correction movement. Of course, every bullish movement now is simply a correction before the next bearish movement start and kick even lower. So we might still go to 11K, we might still go to 10K, we might still go on US 100, sorry, US, what is it? We might still go for US 500 for the 3.7K or even 3.4K and so on, but like we usually see some correction before it happens. Okay, so every bullish movement now is simply a correction. Okay, we've got many drawings here already. But how to confirm that the correction is about to start? We zoom into lower time frames, and we zoomed in last week. If you remember, we had like this like small analysis that we have a range, broken downward, range, broken downward. We are currently where? We are currently inside this range. So let's now do it again. Here we go. This is it. Like as you can see, the exact same distance of the previous one. So this is it. For the bulls to take over, obviously, and like if you remember, we were here, we were waiting for this to happen, right? So it happened, traded higher, traded lower, but like it went deeper than usual. Let's delete it. Now I'm still waiting for the bulls to take over, and as per my market structure, like this is the last high for now. But like to confirm it even better, I would like to see a break above this entire zone because we've got many rejections here. So I want the price not to go higher, reject these lows and trade lower. Okay, so if we have this break from daily, it would invalidate this, like, or like if you what I like to call it, the bulls will claim the support again. So it would be just a fake out, right? Which would be obviously a fake out from daily and weekly, because it will result with many wicks here, especially from weekly. Okay, so it's a very interesting week. Let's see how it goes. For the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above the high. For the bears to remain in control, you are still bearish, right? We just keep on trading lower and lower. So if we break below this low now, it wouldn't be good, right? Especially if we close the day and the week below this low. Okay, on US 30, the exact same analysis, right? So I'll do it very quickly. Okay, this is it. Our next rejection, if we don't reject this area, which is also a demand here, our next one, sorry, our next one would be this support resistance and the 30k, sorry, round number. Okay, so the exact same thing. Now we are sitting between our support and resistance for US 100, for US 500, and so on. Okay, just give me a minute. I really want to. Okay, Khaled, all good, enjoying this, your analysis. Amazing, Khaled. I'm happy to hear that. Did you focus more on body candle or wick pattern or break? Sorry if not clear. English is not my mother tongue. Like don't worry, English isn't my mother, my first language too. So don't worry about it. I'm not clear. Okay, it all depends. Like if it's a trigger, like I want to enter a sell, I want for the last swing to be broken down, just like we saw many examples. Then I want a candle close below it. Okay, for a rejection, I always focus on the wicks. All right, so if I have a resistance and it's been rejected multiple times, for example, we took an example on the XY, right? So it's not broken yet. The resistance is not broken yet because we have a big wick here rejecting it at the price. But if this candle was full candle, right, in this case, this resistance would be confirmed to be broken upwards. Okay, so like it depends on the case. It depends on like what you really mean about it. But hope I get your question. I answered your question correctly. Okay, Kilowa, can you show one or two trades that you took previously, like when you entered and exited? Okay, Kilowa, I don't really like to show off my trades. That's why I don't really like to talk about the past, right? So it's like all my videos on YouTube on TradingView are just about what might happen. I just go for as many details as possible in an educational way. Right, so I don't just like go to backtest, select an area that I know what's going to happen, and then show you that yeah I did this, right? So which I don't really like. But if you'd like, you can simply go to my trading view, so which is here. If you scroll down now, you can see on NZDCHF. Right, so from daily time frame, we were bearish staying inside this channel, looking for sell setups here, and you can read the description here. Right, overall bearish inside the blue channel, approaching the upper trend line, acting as a resistance, blah blah blah. Right, and trigger waiting for one candle close to close below the last swing low in gray to sell. Right, which is here we go. Right, so this is the daily time frame view from the rejection. This is from the M30 time frame. You can simply click on play. Right, and this is it. Okay, so this is basically it. For example, on USHF now, I'm looking for buy setups here. This is from daily. I'll be zooming into lower time frames to look for buy setups. Of course, be looking and not buy immediately. Why? Because it's approaching blah blah blah. Okay, Okay, let's continue with our analysis. Let's go for, okay, we were where? We were around, yes, you at 30, right? So this is basically it for the bulls to take over. We still need to see a break above the high, the exact same trend line we saw on US 500, US 100. This is our last high around the trend line. Here we go. For the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above it, or we might also see a new swing high and then break above this high. But we're around the lower bound, okay, which is very visible from daily time frame. Lower band, which I consider an oversold area. So I'm like, we might still reject this area. Meanwhile, before the buyers proof as they are taking over by breaking the high, we can still trade lower and lower. This would be a very strong support area. Okay, on Bank Nifty, like I have it on my list because like someone requested it last week. So it's like it's still on my list. So let's do it real quick. On Bank Nifty, we are still around. Here we go. We are bearish. We are also bearish, trading inside this channel. Lower highs, low lows. So now we're expecting this as a low, and then we're expecting a correction. So in fact, we'll be trading the correction now. Of course, from a long-term perspective, it would be great if we see this. And then we see this. In this case, it would be amazing. It would signal that the Bank Nifty index is finally ready to trade higher and higher. So like this would be a deep correction. So a big impulse, a deep correction just like this before we trade higher again. Of course, we are still fine as long as we don't break below the 31K. If we break below this area, it wouldn't be good. In this case, it will remind you of this drop here. Okay, but for now, we're still fine. Okay, we might be looking for buy as the correction, and from a long-term perspective, we're waiting for this. Unless we see a break below this entire zone, then we'll be expecting a drop lower. Okay, the expected like next rejection in case we drop lower is simply, you can see it very clearly. Here we go, right? So of course it's an entire zone. So from here, oops, so it's an entire zone, right? So it's a demand zone, okay, which hasn't been filled yet. As you can see, an aggressive movement upward from here, which is also support, broken downward, resistance, broken upward. So this would be a very strong one, and it happens to be, right, it's the 25K. Okay, inside this chart, the strongest round numbers are what? 20K, 25K, 30K, 35. What is 35? 35, of course, 40K and 40. Anyway, you've got the idea. So now we're looking for buy setups on Bank Nifty, but I wanted to approach this support as much as possible. That's why I have my arrow here that as price dives inside it, I'll be looking for buy. I'll be expecting just like previously, impulse correction. I'm expecting this impulse to look for this correction. Very straightforward. We zone lower and lower. Let me see if we can now draw anything. Okay, so very simple. Draw this trend line. Here we go. So like now this trend line is engulfing the overall movement downwards. So as long as the bears are trading below it, we are bearish, and we can still trade even lower and lower. So we can go lower like this before we break upward, which is what I would like to see. Okay, or we might form a new swing here, break it upward. We can't really know for now. It might be a double top, break it upward from here. Okay, but anyway, we are looking for buy setups. Now we can even make an offset for it. So like in this case, it would be a falling, broadening wedge. So here we go. Right. So this is it. Yeah, looking for a new swings to form, and then buy, and then buy on break upward, just like previously. For example, broke below this low, traded lower, and like then before trading higher again, broke about this high, trading higher. So we might also see like something like this around here, and later on, we broke below this low, correction, traded lower. Okay, so I'm waiting for any kind of a reversal. So for example, a new high to form here, and then a break above it like this. So that's it for the indices. Okay, William, hope you're doing good. Kilowa, I'm new, so I'm not sure when to enter, even when it's near support and resistance. No worries, Kilo, if you ask anything. And I guess like you requested Bank Nifty last week, right? So like it happened, like it happened now nicely. So try to get some Oracle. Okay, let's continue. Now we've done Forex, we've done indices. Let's go for some crypto, right? So as usual for crypto, I'll start with total. Okay, which is basically like the total market cap. Then we'll go over USDT, then Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then if we have some time, we'll go over as many altcoins as possible. So we've got like 18k, 18k like coins or like tokens. So of course, like no matter how much I do, I can't really like cover as much as possible. But if you know where you are in the market from these four, like of course, like total USDT and Bitcoin are enough. So sorry, it would be great. Let's do it. Let's start with total as usual. Weekly time frame. Okay, it all depends again and again on US 500 as mentioned previously. So we have a wick, the weekly candle, this week candle, they are trying to fill this previous wick. Okay, so it's very common. We have the wick, price tried to fill it, even trade it lower, filled it, trade higher. Okay, so it's very common. It might be like this, it might be not. That doesn't have to be, but this is a possible scenario because usually when we have an aggressive movement upward, like for example, let me show it to you from lower time frames. Okay, so I'm going to have this. Usually we'll have this before we trade higher again. Okay, so let's stick to the weekly time frame now. We've got this demand zone, right? So like price went down, grabbed like many orders here before trading higher. So we might still see price going lower to test this lower area, which is also the 1 trillion round number. It's also what this demand zone, right? Because inside this big bullish movement, this is the only time where we saw a consolidation, and it's the only time we saw like red candles. We also saw here, which like explains the 500 billion. Okay, so we have a demand here, we have a demand here, right? So now we might still drop lower to test it before trading higher, but now every bullish movement is what is a correction before we trade lower. Every bullish movement is a correction until eventually we will break above the channel. So what are the scenarios? First one is if we trade higher from here, it would be good. To form a new swing high, we need to drop lower. We might drop even lower than previously before finally breaking above the previous high. Or we might go higher, like higher low before we break it upward, or now trade lower immediately from here, go higher to retest the support and resistance, now broken downward, acting as a resistance, reject it one more time, dive even lower before we finally break up of it. So long story short, we need a break above this channel. Okay, so no matter how or what. So but like these are the possible scenarios on how we might see it. Okay, so this is from weekly. This is the big picture of where are the rejection zones. If we go zoom in lower to daily time frame, this is the wick that we saw from weekly. Now for the bars to take over, as mentioned last week, if you remember, we are still waiting for the last high to be broken upwards. So previously we were here, I guess, right? And we're waiting for this high to be broken upward, which didn't happen yet. Now we've got a minor high, which is this range. So if we have a break above this range now, right, the bulls will prove control from a short-term perspective, right? Because it's a small range. The main high is clearly here. Okay, so if this happens, we might still drop lower from here. Okay, so just from a short-term perspective, proving that the bulls are now kicking in, right? So are trying their best to kick in, but it's not a signal that we have a reversal just yet. We need to see a break above this, okay, which we can see better from a zoomed out picture. So if we see this, then we can expect a bullish movement. The best case scenario would be to see this, a new swing to form, a higher low, and then a break above it. Okay, we can't really know anything for now. Meanwhile, until any of this happen, this or this, we can still reject the downward to trade lower. Okay, so if you zoom even lower and lower, you can oh, oops, okay, I don't know why this one. Okay, we can see that the bears took over from a short-term perspective by breaking below this channel, and you can see this channel like like this. Okay, sorry, this trend line. You can see it on Bitcoin, right? So the exact same channel trend line. Sorry again. So on Ethereum, the exact same trend line. Okay, so we can see it everywhere. That's why it's very important to start with total. Okay, so the bears took over from a short-term perspective. For the bulls to take over from a short-term perspective, what we need to see this. We need to see now price going up, right? Making this new high, break above it. Just short-term, okay? Now this would be medium-term, and like this would be to confirm that they are now finally over. Okay, of course, this is just a correction. This is just like corrections of the correction. Okay, as long as we are trading inside this big channel. Okay, so like all of these swings are simply here, just here. Okay, unless we see this. If we go to USDT, which is usually the exact opposite of total, so when USDT is going up, you will see the whole crypto market going down, because like people will be shifting their coin, or like selling what's known, or selling their coins to USDT. Okay, and vice versa. When you see USDT going lower, it means that people are using their USDT to buy to buy other coins with it. Okay. So that's why it's very important to always keep an eye on USDT. We previously had this aggressive bullish movement, a wick here rejecting the upper bound, just like a wick here rejected the upper bound previously. So now we're staying inside this like channel or rising broadening wedge, and rejected this area here. Usually after this big wick, you will see price going and fill even 50% or even higher before we trade lower. Okay, so it's very usual, just like what happened here. A big wick, right? Price went up like almost more than half before filling it and trade lower. Big wick, traded higher a little bit, right? Until almost more than half before trading lower. Okay. So this is basically it. When you see big wicks, you will always see like some reaction before we trade lower again. Anyway, like don't try to predict that now we'll have a reaction. So just wait for the bears to take over from lower time frames. So if you zoom in to daily, you can see it even better, right? Support and resistance, multiple rejections from it, and now we are around the upper bound. So the upper trend line in blue, upper trend line in brown, which is like showing us that we are clearly overbought. But for the bears to take over, we are still waiting for the last major high to be broken. Major low in this case to be broken down, which is the opposite swing we saw on total. So this is the swing here, right? So, and we have a very similar scenario, which are these lows here, like from a short-term perspective. And if you remember, I also covered last week, I guess. Okay, I don't see the drawings, but I don't know why. Anyway, we've covered that this is as a minor low. This is also a minor low, and so on, because it's from lower time frames. But this is what we are looking for. But like this will give us an idea that the bears are taking over. But this would be the last major low. So Bitcoin, right? The exact same trend line we saw previously. Let me read it for now. Bitcoin, like the good thing is we didn't break below the 30K yet, so we rejected. Okay, and it's a zone, right? Even though we had a break below it, a candle close below the 30K, but a support is not a laser line, it's an entire zone. Okay, so unless we see a break below the entire zone, a full candle close, we are still fine. We are still around a support. Okay, so just like previously, here we go. Let me show you. So we had a close below the 30K, but we immediately reversed. So now in this case, like of course, it's a little bit different now, but same idea. The last major high is where it's clearly here. Okay, we can see it better from lower time frames. So we might still trade higher, okay, before trading lower again. Okay, because like we have been trading inside this like range. So lower high, we might still trade higher now inside the range before we trade lower again and break this range downward below the 28K from daily time frame. In this case, it wouldn't be good at all. Okay, a movement to the next rejection, which would be the 20K, would be expected. But for now, let's take it step by step. So from short, from lower time frames, well, here we go. We mentioned this last week. This is for the bulls taking over from a short-term perspective, but the major high is here. That I want to break above it. So like from last week till today, we broke above and we stuck inside this range. So like we don't really have much updates, but you know that we are currently inside this range. Let's see if the bulls will be able to break above it. Let me draw these ones now. Okay, and let's keep the H4 view. We can make it a little bit lower like this, but I want a full break above this zone. Okay, in this case, if this happens, then what? Then we will have a big bullish movement. No, okay. If this happens, then we will have a correction. Till where we can't really know, but the next rejection area that might hold the price down is this supply zone and the round number 38 or 40K zone. Okay, so we are still bearish. This is just a confirmation that the buyers can start to trade higher for a correction. This is the view from daily. So we might trade higher, reject this area before we trade lower again and again before finally breaking above the last major high. So we need this, maybe this, and here we go. Now we can see that we are bullish. Okay, as long as we are trading inside this channel from weekly, we are definitely still very bearish until we see this, a break above it. Finally, we can expect this movement. Meanwhile, we can trade higher, trade lower, big impulse movement to the 20K, trade higher, and then break above this last high. Then we have a bullish trend. Okay, we've got many possible scenarios, but of course, like don't worry, we'll have a session next week and we'll see how it goes. But for today, I can't really cover all possible scenarios. So let's see how it goes. As long as we don't break below this zone, we are fine. And yeah, on Ethereum, we've got a very similar scenario. Weekly time frame rejected this demand zone, the exact same trend line, and like this trend line showing you that we might go very deep, right? So like the impulse movement hasn't ended yet. So like if you compare this impulse movement to this impulse movement, it's just like half the distance, right? So if you like draw a line, right, and like extend it from here to here, look at how deep we can go. Okay, so we're still fine so far. Okay, and if you imagine the distance from here to here, right, it's like 50%. And look at this, right? And here we go. We also have a 50% in this case. But if we follow this channel, we can still go deeper. Okay. Anyway, to go till here, we need to break this. We need to break this, and so on. Okay. So for now, we are bearish. Broke out this previous low. For the bulls to take over, we need to see this, and then a break back above it. It would be a break above this resistance and above this channel. Then we can expect a potential bullish trend. So yeah, for now, every bullish movement is simply a correction. This would be the next resistance, which we saw from weekly time frame. This is the exact same high we saw on Bitcoin. For the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above this area. If you zoom lower, I can't really say much. If you go to M30, we've got a high here that for the bulls to take over from a short-term perspective, we need to see a break above it here. Okay, so and we've got a big range now, which we saw on Bitcoin and so on. So this is an entire range. So if broken down, it wouldn't be good. Basically, it's following US 500 and so on. If you break below this area from daily and weekly, then the bears would take over, and then a movement till the 1.5K would be expected. And anyway, I have my alert here. If you can see it on the top right, around 1.5K. Like I'm hoping it will not go off, but I have it there in case price drops. Like I will know immediately, because I'll be adding more longs and so on. So that's basically it. Okay, Kilowa, I already did Bank Nifty. So I'm not sure if it's Nifty 50. It's different than Bank Nifty. Okay. Alwyn, FET USDT right now, H4 is almost ready to break resistance. Bullish rally right now. Okay, I'll check it out. I'm already wrecked, running out of money. Just telling me the signal so I can play 125x and got lick. I don't know what lick is. Yeah, it's different. So let's check out Nifty 50, but like at the end for now, like since I'm going over like crypto ones, I'll stick to the crypto for like 10-15 more minutes, and then we'll end it with Bank Nifty. Okay, FET USDT. So like let's check it out. Okay, we've got like Fetch AI, right? Okay, I don't really see much. Let's go to okay, let's go to this one. Okay, nothing also. Let's go to Binance. Okay, I can see it better. Fantastic. Let's see the previous time. You know what? Let's go for this, and let's check the weekly time frame. I can't really know from H4 what is the resistance. Okay, fantastic. Here we go. This is a support and resistance area. If you go a little bit lower, 1.5, and if you go a little bit higher to cover these ones, around 2. Let's go for 2 first. Let's see. Okay, let's stick to 2, and the next rejection would be around this area, around 0.25. Okay, let's go for green here, and the next resistance would be around this area. Here we go, around 0.5. Here we go. Right, so this is weekly time frame. On daily time frame, we are currently obviously bearish. You can see the exact same pattern almost everywhere. Here we go, right? The exact one we saw on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. So we are bearish now around this support area. From weekly time frame, we are still fine. Rejected this support, right? So just like previously, multiple weeks, so we can still trade higher from here. Okay, and unless we break below it, then a movement low would be expected till this zone. For now, we're looking for buy stops from a long-term perspective. For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, we still need to see this and the break above it. Above this like channel, which is like obviously a bearish channel now. For the bulls to take over from a shorter term perspective, we've got a trend line forming now. So that's it. I'll go to orange real quick, and this is it. This is our last major high, the exact same high we saw on Bitcoin, right? So we have 2 possible scenarios: a break above the high, the major high now, or we might still reject this trend line one more time before we break upward. So before we break this high, we are still bearish. We can still trade lower and lower before we finally break upwards. Okay, I will mute myself like for a minute because of the bell. Okay, I'm back, and yes, Kilo, I'm getting and shot from scratch. Let's go for a couple more examples on. Okay, I've got many instruments. So if you'd like for me to go over a specific one, let me know in the comment section. For now, I'll start with like a couple of ones, and let's start from weekly. You know what? The exact same analysis we did on Fetch AI, on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. That's why it's very important to start from total and Bitcoin. So like now you know exactly what to look for, right? So if you go to daily time frame, we see the exact same channel. right? For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, we need to see this. For now, every bullish movement is a correction, and then we expect a dive and the next impulse movement lower. So correction, bullish, bearish, and impulse. Until eventually we break above it from lower time frames. For the bulls to take over, we need to see this break. This is our last major high, just like at almost all coins, and we might see this before we break, or we might break it immediately. Okay, so this is what I'm waiting for on DOT. For the bulls to take over on BAT, basic token, a very similar scenario. I really like this one because it has been very, very clean lately. So resistance, support, right? So it has been very, very clean. And like unfortunately now we are trying to break below this zone. So this resistance is broken upward, became support multiple times. Okay, now we are trying to break below it. If this weekly candle holds below it, it wouldn't be good. A movement low would be expected till the 0.2, this zone here. Okay, and as you can see, I have my alerts around the 0.2 in case this happens. Like I'll be looking for buy setups also here. If we go to weekly time frame, the exact same channel we saw on like on many altcoins. We can even go for a flat for a flat one, and that's it, right? So it depends. Anyway, if you want, you can keep both just for overall direction. And now for the bulls to take over, in this case, it's tricky because we are currently sitting below a resistance, a support area now acting as a resistance. So I'll be waiting for the bulls to break back above the support to claim it back, because it's now acting as a resistance. So for now, we might still drop lower. That's the lower bound. Before we trade higher, make a new swing high, and then finally break above it. Or we might break, immediately go higher, make this low, and then finally break above it. Okay, on Rune, this one, if you remember, we had it last week. We have our round number 3. Here we go. And we are training inside like a giant descending triangle, but I deleted the lower bound because we already have the 3 round number, so I can keep the chart clean. So, and it's also a support area, so we've got many rejections from it. Now we're expecting this movement. Unless it's broken downward, it wouldn't be good. Then a movement in the next rejection would be expected, which is the 1, which is also a demand zone. So if we zoom lower to daily time frame, we can see things even better. Let's go to H4. So we are currently bearish, very clean market structure, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So for the bulls to take over, obviously, we need a new swing high to be broken upward. Of course, not this one because it's already around the resistance. So I'm waiting for a new swing high, which from last week, from now, this week we didn't go anywhere. So I'm waiting for this. I'm still waiting for this to happen. Of course, like it's just like a projection. Of course, price might do like this, might do like I don't know what, like this, and then a channel, and then break it upward. Okay, but it's just like a projection of what I would like to see. So that's it, waiting for this to happen, and then of course I'll be buying Rune. Next we've got Ape. Okay, I posted this one on TradingView yesterday, which you can see here. Here we go. Right, so on Ape we are currently below, right? So we are currently below this 10, which is a strong round number. That's why I have my alert above the 10. Okay. So we can't really see much here because as you can see, we don't have enough data. This one is still new. So 5 is a strong round number, 10 is a strong round number, now acting as a resistance also. Okay, if you go to H4 time frame, this is at a resistance zone, multiple rejections from it. For the bulls to take over, I want not only to break above this, which we saw on Bitcoin and so on, I also need to see a break above this resistance here. In this case, the bulls would prove or claim back support. On the retest of it, I'll be zooming into lower time frames and look for buy stops. I'll be looking for buy stops. I don't buy blindly. Okay. So that's basically it's like we have like a very clean market structure: higher lows, higher highs, broken downward, now bearish, low lows, lower highs. Now we're waiting for the bulls to take over. Okay, I'll do one more before checking the comments on Zcash, on ZEC. Okay, also a giant symmetric triangle, which can also be a descending triangle. Okay, so but it's just an over direction to feel the market. And as you can see, like this one stood strong last week. So like on Bitcoin we had a big bearish movement and a wick, then this, right, a candle. While on ZAC and then many like next coins, we've got what? We've got this and then this, a closing like this. So this is definitely stronger than this, right? Which and like monitoring price action will make you like feel the correlation, feel the strength of like a particular one. So like if this in a correction phase get like aggressive movements upward, then in a bull run, of course it would be an amazing one. Okay, so like this will make you feel the chart even more. Anyway, rejected the support area, traded high while still looking for positive ups. Of course, waiting for the bulls to take over. If you go to H4 time frame, this is what I'm waiting for. And for example, and then buy on spec upward. So I'm waiting for the buyers to exit or to break above this like channel, which is definitely showing us the overall trend for now. Okay, Kilo requested Avax. Sorry about that. Which book do you recommend? Do you suggest for trading and psychology? Okay, I don't know about psychology much, right? I don't know about books for psychology, so I can't really recommend anything for now. Okay, Avax Avalanche. Let's check it out. Okay, nothing. Let's go to Binance. Okay, we're better. Let's check more if we have more data. Okay, nothing. Let's go. But of course not. Of course not. Let's go to like CoinEx. Do we have CoinEx? Because usually we find more data on CoinEx. Yeah. Okay, nah, this is it. So let's stick to this one. Okay, this is oops, not Avax. Okay, that's it. We've got, anyway, like from the first glance, you see that we are now bearish, break mirror this low, correction, traded lower, broke below these lows also, which now is a strong support and resistance. All right, so just from weekly, you can immediately highlight this, right? So if price trades higher, this is a possible resistance zone that might hold it down. And you can also immediately highlight this rejection here, of course, right? So like it's a very strong demand zone. Of course, we've got the 10 round number here, and we've got the upper bound of it around 15. So this is it. Okay. Like I'm not really sure about this swing here. Let me check it out from daily to see like if it's just like at the beginning of it. Okay. Okay. Good. So what we can do is we can draw a trend line here. That's it, right? And let's make it in brown. Okay, of course we previously drew this one, broken downward, blah blah blah, and we can identify the upper band, which is like this, but I will not draw it. So this is just an horizontal support. Though we might still see rejection from it before reaching this demand zone. We've got rejections here also, like multiple rejections and support and resistance. So we zoom in, we can see it better, right? So this is a rejection, support, broken down, resistance. So around, I'll go for 20 as a round number, 2025. Okay, so this is it from 20 to 25. So it would be here. So like it's approaching a very, very strong zone, multiple rejection areas, demand support, horizontal support, non-horizontal support, and so on. But we don't buy blindly. We zoom into lower time frames and so on. Anyway, now we did the zoomed out picture. The zoomed in picture, we can see that we are bearish. So let's try to identify the upper bound and the lower bound. Upper bound is clearly this, right? So like we don't need any tools to draw it. So it's just the upper bound, okay? You draw it, you make it, and let's go for orange, and copy paste, offset, here we go. So, right? So of course it's an entire zone. So you should treat it like this, right? To cover the wicks, and here we go to cover, to cover the wicks here. That's it. Okay, so it's an entire zone, but I usually just keep it as a level to make it look better. So we might still dive in, just like we saw on Bitcoin, Ethereum, blah, blah, blah. We might still dive in inside this zone, which would be massive, right? So it's the intersection of 4 rejections. So demand, support, horizontal, non-horizontal, and this lower bound acting as an oversold area. Okay, or of course, we might still reject from here. That's why we don't buy blindly, blah, blah, blah. We zoom into H4. Okay, I can't really add much for now, except that this is our last major high. Okay, of course, I can draw a trend line here. Here we go. Let's go for red. Okay. So I can't really add much, except that this is a high. If broken upward, the bulls would take over. Keep in mind that this is a resistance. So as price trades higher, this would be a resistance area, non-horizontal and horizontal, 55 and this red trend line. We might drop lower from here. And meanwhile, we can still drop lower, trade like this, make a new swing, and then break it upwards. Okay, because as mentioned, this is a very strong sorry, this is a very strong support area. So that's it for FX. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments. I'll still do take a 1 minute to break and then still do like 1 or 2 altcoins. Okay, Mike, what are you looking for exactly when you go to make an entry at one of your buy-sell zones, a certain candlestick pattern? What do you look for confirmation? Do you want to place your trade? Okay, I'll mute my microphone just for 30 seconds for the bell, and we'll continue, okay? Okay, let's continue. So Mike asked, how do I look for entries? I personally don't go for candlestick patterns. Like it might be a candlestick pattern, but I will never know it because like I zoom into lower time frames like H1 and wait for a last swing high or like a pattern to be broken upward, for the last high to be broken upward to buy. So it might be this swing high broken upward. It might be like a hammer from weekly, right? Or a hammer from daily, or like an engulfing pattern from H4. Okay, so it all depends on your trading style, on your time, on your lifestyle, and so on. So, but like what I personally do, I rarely look for candlestick patterns. I just look for it if I want to look for it on daily and weekly. I don't ever look for candlestick patterns on lower time frames. So yeah, this is it. Because like always remember that like one candle is like simply like a small story. Like multiple candles form a swing, multiple swings form a trend. Okay, so like I want at least like multiple a swing to be broken upwards, right? Not just one candle and a reversal candle, because most probably it would be a fake out. No matter a support, how strong a support area is. First of all, it's an area, so we might still have a hammer, trade lower below it multiple times, form a new low, a new wick before trading higher. But again and again, it depends on you. Like if you have your trading plan and it's proven to give good results, then of course, like stick to it. Especially that if you go for candlesticks on higher time frames, daily and weekly. Okay. Nifty 50. You know what? I'll do it now. I'll do it now. Okay, this is it, right? Give me a second. That's it. Okay, nice. I did analysis for it, like I don't know when, and let me check the date, and like January. Okay, nice. Anyway, we've got an area here which we clearly saw. We've got a resistance, right? So if we drop till this far, and like you know what, Kirawa, it's a very similar one to Bank Nifty, right? So exactly the same. So as long as we are above this, we are fine, which is the 15K, I guess. Let's go for, no, it would be lower, but it's okay, it would be lower. So let's go for this 15, like 400, 500. This is the entire zone. As long as we are above it, we are fine. This is a support and resistance now acting as support. Okay, so we'll be looking for trend following buy setups, the exact same channel we saw on Bank Nifty. That's it. Okay, in this case, it's like it's more like a falling broadening wedge. And yeah, let's do it as brown. Let's make it appear on lower time frames. Fantastic. If you zoom lower, okay, this is it. Of course, we can make this one higher and so on, but like let's keep it as an overall direction. I can't really add much except that we have a demand approaching the support, looking for buy stops. H4, I can't really see much. Like you can see like big gaps like everywhere here. On H1, okay, we know that we are bearish, waiting for the bulls to take over. This is our last high for now, of course, from H1. If you drop lower, which like what I would prefer to see, then it would be better to look for stops around the lower bound, lower area. It would be like it would be oversold more, which is even better. So like the more price drops, the higher probability that we will see a big movement upward, and vice versa. The bigger the movement upward, the bigger the movement downward, and so on. So I'm waiting for this maybe, and then a buy on spike upward. So anyway, I'll start to look for buy starting from here because we've got a demand. So let's see if we get like any bullish reverse setup. If we break below it, it would still be fine as long as we are above the 15K zone, which is 15,400. Then maybe we might see this. Okay. So this big, I can't really add much for now. Of course, you can zoom into lower time frames and lower time frames and so on, but like let's not do it. Okay, let's continue with like a couple more examples on crypto, like for like maybe two, and that would be it. Let's go for, you know what? I don't know which one. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to go over a specific one, like yes, exactly. Okay, like I'll just do two more because like it will be like 2 hours live. So you know what? I'll pick one, and like while you are typing, let me know. You can pick one. Like the first one to pick it, I will do it. Okay, you know what? I will do. I don't know which one. Let's go for. Let's go for STX. Okay. Oops. On STX, very similar analysis, which we saw previously on FET and on FET, Bitcoin, and so on. We've got a demand zone here, looking for buy stops. We rejected it previously. This is our resistance, support, and resistance. Okay, so like these are my key rejection level is 1, 1.75, and 2.5. Of course, we also got the all-time high. But like, let's stick to this one for now. This is a round number 0.5, 0.25. Okay, so looking for buy stops now, the exact same channel we saw on many altcoins who are currently bearish. Okay, it's very important to know where you are. We previously had a huge like range in the shape of a head and shoulders, broken downward, traded lower. Okay, so the projection of the head and shoulders is usually from the highest point of the head, which is like a very big wick, to the lowest point of the neckline. So if we go for the projection, this would be it. So we are still expecting bearish movement. Of course, like I don't really like the wick, how big it is. So if you go just for a smaller one, which is here, then the projection would be would be almost done. Okay, because like I don't really like this big one. Okay, so this is basically it. We previously were bearish, broke above the previous high, traded higher, and so on. We are now bearish, looking for a very similar scenario than like this. Okay, waiting for a new swing high and then break buy on break upward. A demand zone 0.5, a demand zone 0.25, looking for buy stops. We don't buy blindly, zoom into lower time frames, wait for the push to take over. The bears took over here, trade it lower. Now we're waiting for an opposite scenario, like movement like this, and then break above it. Then we can enter our buy, and this would be also the last major high. Okay, let's do one more, and that would be it. You know what? Let's go for. I don't know which one to go for because like I want to go for them all, but like I can't redo it for sand. Okay, on sand, like this one melted really bad. We've got a demand zone here, looking for buy setups. Of course, we can still trade lower, fill it before trading higher. If you zoom into daily time frame, we can see a very similar channel that we saw on many altcoins. We were bullish previously, broke below this low, right? And now we are bearish, started to make lower lows and lower highs. So we are still bearish as long as we make lower highs, higher high, lower high, lower high, and so on. So for the long-term bullish reversal, we'll be waiting for the last high to be broken upwards. So technically, I'm waiting for this, which is also a support and resistance, now acting as a resistance, waiting for this, and then maybe if this happens, then this would be our last high broken upward. Then I'll be buying on spike upward. This is from a long-term perspective. From a medium-term perspective, since we are sitting around a demand zone and lower bound, I'll be looking also for buy stops. Of course, it's an entire zone, right? So just for over direction, we zoom into H4 time frame. This is it. Okay, waiting for this to happen and then maybe buy on spike upward. Meanwhile, we can still drop lower, form like consolidation like this before we break higher. Okay, so that's basically it for this session. I'm sorry about like. Okay. Okay, I'll not put you down. I'll do FTM real quick before we stop. Okay. FTM weekly time frame, the exact same thing we saw on Sandbox, demand zone, right? That's our support and resistance, right? This is it. Resistance previously, support. Now acting as a resistance, and of course it's around number 1. We've got a 0.225 here, a demand zone. While looking for buy stops, looking, of course, with same channel that we saw on many altcoins. Here we go, copy paste, lower bound, looking for buy stops on lower time frames. This is it. This is our last high, right? We can even zoom even lower, like we can see it better. If you go higher, we can draw this trend line. That's it. Okay, so waiting for this to happen, a break above the trend line also, or for this and then a break above it. Okay, but I want the break above this trend line for the bulls to take over. It also would be better to have a major high broken upwards. Okay, okay. So Frank asked for Solana, so please I'll do Solana and that's it. So like please don't request any more coins. Okay, so like because like I don't like to see someone requesting something and I don't do it, so I have to do it. But like please stop requesting. Uh, let's do Solana and that would be it. Okay, Solana, exact same analysis, demand zone, all right, support and resistance here, so rejection, lower support, support previously, resistance now, and now we've got this demand. We're looking for buy stop starting from here, which is also, we've got the round number 50, which is this high, but we can still drop lower till this demand zone, which is around 30, okay, which is like filling the wick. If you go to lower time frame, here we go, the same exact channel that we saw on many altcoins. That's it. Lower band, we can still trade lower inside the lower band before we trade higher. It's an entire zone, so it should be also like this. If you go to H4, can't really add much except that this is the last major high for now. Okay, the last major high, of course, is here, but like let's see if this high will get bigger. It's also this last low, which would also be anyway this trend line. Here we go, right? So let's make it a red. So I need a break not only above the high but also above this trend line. So the best case scenario would be if we trade higher, make a new swing high and then break above it. Fantastic, Calvin. I'm happy that you are enjoying it. I see you hopefully next Thursday also, and don't forget the draw, guys. As mentioned at the start, for those who don't know about the draw, don't worry. When like I end the session, you can rewatch the recording. And I started with explaining about the draw. We will be making a draw next week. Making a draw next week for a chance to win one Rich TL package. To know more about Rich TL, you get $100 discount. You can see it at the bottom of the screen, right? Like for those who know about me from training nuts, so you can get you save $100, but like wait for next week because you might win it for free, right? So we're making a draw hopefully next Thursday, same time as this session, and one lucky winner. All you need to do is to follow me on Twitter. You can find the links in the description below. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Telegram or Discord or both, whatever you like. And when done, write your name in the comment section, not in the live chat where we are talking now, right? In the comment section of the video. Okay. And like next week, I'll check all the names and then we'll select one winner. So, Calvin, fantastic. My pleasure. Frank, you're more than welcome. Kilowa, I'm glad that you never missed a session so far. So amazing. I really respect that. Have a wonderful day or afternoon, everyone, wherever you are living. And I'll see you hopefully next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.